your show. I mean, I still see Billy, you know, at his age, and he tears the place up. He's still great, you know? How good are you? So when you write a bunch of songs and you walk into 89 North and you say, look, you know, I had at your thing, James, that you put together, it was, I had a kid tell me, you know, 89 North has 3 tribute bands tonight. That sucks. And I said, yeah, tomorrow night they have 4 original bands. But you suck. You know? And, you know, it made no sense to me, you know, whatsoever, but he really believed this, you know? And, you know, what are you bringing to the table? And, you know, when I went to this conference, you know, they asked this agent, they said, you know, what do you do? What do you look for in a band? And she said, you gotta be great, they gotta be ambitious, they gotta be experienced on, you know, great songs so that I can get them from 0 to 500 people. That was the concept, 0 to 500 people. And it's a plan, it's a whole plan. And that's what I don't hear, we haven't talked about yet. You know, how great, you know, why should somebody listen to your original music? You know, did you come the first time and you know, and maybe the space gave you the lounge and you brought in 40 people, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your blah, 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 blah. And you brought in 30 people, 40 people, and then the next time you came back, nobody came back. Why didn't anybody come back? You know, were your songs just not that good? Was your show a little boring? You know, was it just not worth coming back for? And, you know, so to me, that's, you know, what I look for. I book, you know, like I said, almost 200 bands a year, and when they want, I get over 500 submissions for a festival that I do. And, you know, what do you bring to the table? You know, how great are you? And that's what every big agent and manager and, you know, they're not just suits, they're people who really want to give you great music, and they want you to work a little harder, you know, and these people up here, you know, these are all pros. Everybody up here is good at what they do. And, you know, Randy, I mean, you know, I played alongside Randy years ago, and Zebra tore it up, you know, and so what do you bring to the table? Joni, the Joni project, that's a hard project to do, Joni Mitchell. And she's doing the hard years, the Jocko years. Not easy, I'm a bass player. And she's amazing, you know, so, you know, Michael, I mean, you know, we can talk about everybody up here is great. Ian's got great tunes. Glenn's been writing about Ian for forever. So, you know, that's, how great, are you the next Take Me Back Sunday? Are you going in there with a vengeance, you know, to tear the place up and make, you know, 5 more followers. And I just don't see that anymore, you know? I'm sorry. Katie.
The thing that I really want to say is what I experienced on Long Island is, and especially, I wish he was here tonight, but at the Patchogue Theater, what Christopher Capobianco did, because he focused on original music with these shows in the lobby. And when I first came to Long Island, I was only on the island, I think, a couple of years. And I was searching for people that were in my genre. And I'll never forget the first show I booked with Christopher. He booked me, Jesse Haynes, and Kathy Kreger. And I think he called it like Power of Women or something. It was, you know, he had a whole thing to it. And there was a decent crowd there. But he created something there with a fan base. He used, you know, Patchogue Theater's fan base, and these people would come back time and time again to these lobby shows, and I really built a fan base in Patchogue really because of those shows, because the people did come back, and it was smaller, you know, it wasn't as big as when, like, I played there many times at the Patchogue Theater, and the Joni Project show, I think, was our most successful show. But there was really something that was created there by these original nights, and teaming up original artists with other original artists that are somewhat similar. So I think as a songwriter, as, you know, if you're a band or whatever, just teaming up with other bands, other musicians, for me, that's the great thing about Long Island, is this huge network of awesome musicians, and you can put together these nights and join forces, and you'll end up with more people at your shows. So I think that if we could do that more, I was sorry to see that original lobby series, go. But I'd love that if we could do that at multiple venues, do these original nights, because they might bring in less people than the tribute nights, but I think that's really a great way to do to build fan base. So it really helped me. And
what Katie's saying too is Chris did a terrific job with the Live in the Lobby series 7 years in a row. I think he did that, but that also gets back to the promotion. Chris was promoting music that he was very fond of. He likes the singer-songwriter genre. He likes things towards the acoustic side. There's promoters who are better at other genres. When we first opened '89, we had East Coast Collective promoter come in, rented the venue, put on hardcore shows. I knew nothing about hardcore, absolutely nothing. And when they first started playing, I thought there was something wrong with them. I said, the singer's sick, call an ambulance, And he was selling these shows out, and they loved it. East Coast knew how to reach those people, okay? And they sold the shows out, packed it, everybody had a great time. He had national acts at the top of the bill, and he had local openers. But as Katie said, you have different promoters better at certain genres. And a music scene is a big word, it's a big phrase. What is it? Is it metal? Or is it a whole bunch of different things?
We have about 5 more minutes left of this panel. Any questions? Anybody wants to ask the panel?
Can I say something, Travis?
Effie's on the next panel. Let's hear it, Effie. You're on the next panel.
I just want to say, I'm probably the oldest person in this room. I want to give everyone a little history. Because there's a lot of talent on Long Island and frustrates me. No matter what time.
Jeff, can we get a mic, please?
I don't need it.
Sorry about that. Hi. In the 60s, when I was 17, 18, going to bars, the only club bands that played were cover bands. But what they did was they would inject their own original songs. The Rascals, the Vanilla Fudge, the Rich Kids, the Illusion. It went on. And then one at a time, they'd put a single out. People would buy it. Okay, no one's buying records anymore. But the point I'm making is, it's important. The song is what it's all about. A great song. That's what it's about. No one's saying anything about that. Give me a great song. And I will, as a fan of the band, even if I don't know the band, if I hear a great song, I'll fall in love with the band and the songwriter. So, if no disrespect, because I've seen you play, but I've never talked to you. If they don't like your songs, give them other songs until you have a whole agenda, you have a repertoire of songs that they like that are original songs. And make them sound like did what Randy did in the old days. Randy
Trust me, Michael has awesome songs. He has original, terrific stuff, and that's why I introduced him to
the
Atlanta.
audience like your songs?
They do. I opened up for Billy Joel at the Nassau Coliseum doing my own songs. I've had great opportunities. This again is about the desire of the people and what they want. I am giving it to them at the shows, so it's just you can't just make that kind of statement and say it's because either the songs aren't good enough or you don't play enough of them. I'm getting hired to do a job when I'm doing a big shot show. I'm getting hired by the venue, and I'm getting hired. I'm also have complaints from people if I vary too far from what I'm supposed to be getting paid to be doing there. So I'll do it anyway. I give them my stuff anyway, and I feed it to them, and I tell them, look, you got to do what you got to do. But what they end up choosing to want to buy and what they choose not to want to listen to or not to want to come to is their choice. Still their choice. I'm giving it to them, though.
I appreciate that. Maybe I'm too old. I don't understand that.
I really think that a lot of it has to do with our age group. You know, a lot of the people going to see tribute bands these days, they don't want to know about any of the new music. You know, when we were growing up, when Zebra was coming out, we were playing to young kids, and they were looking for new music. You know, and Michael got stuck in the middle somewhere. You know, he's playing classic rock. He's doing Billy Joel as a young kid, like in his teenage years, and then trying to play to that audience and do original stuff. But Michael has great songs. I mean, and if you guys haven't heard them yet, you should check them out, because that's why how old were you, 15 or 16? Sent him right to Atlantic Records the first time I heard it, not because he sounded like Billy Joel, but he had great songs. And I know a great song when I hear it, you know? The guy was really good then, and he's still writing, and he's doing it now. And I understand what Epi's saying, you know, because that's the way it was back then. But things are different now. We've got the baby boomers, which is a large audience that is like still wanting to relive their teenage years, and they're coming back to listen to the Journey tributes and all these tribute bands, and a lot of them aren't interested in hearing new music, you know? That's why record companies are always saying, well, how old are they? How old are they? Why? Because they want to develop these bands from a young age. They don't care if you're 50 and you're a great band, well, that's great. You're not going to get a record deal. If you're 15 and you're an okay band, you got a much better chance. So, you know, it's a tough business.
Yeah.
And that makes it
tough.
tough.
Before, you know, when he wants to go out, am I coming out? You know, again, Long Island is a veteran community. It's not Brooklyn, and it's not Queens, and it's not Manhattan. It's a veteran community. Most of the people have homes, and you know, and they work all week, and they want to go out on weekends, have a couple of drinks, hang out with their friends, hear music that they recognize, and go back to work on Monday. If you live in Brooklyn, you know, you can walk to the corner and hear a band, and you know, the band's playing for free in a bar on the corner, and you're home by 10:30, and you go to work the next day. It's a different world. So you use Brooklyn, and you use Queens, and you use Manhattan for what it is, the industry, and you work out on Long Island, and you any way you can. If it's an original band like Ian's, or you know, you work out on Long Island, get the bugs out of your show, and get it ready, and really look at it. And then as Epi said, it's the song too. You know, I walked into a Village pub one night many years ago, and 9 Days was playing, and I had never heard them before, and they didn't have a deal yet, I don't think, and I was blown away by their songs. They weren't sliding across the floor on their knees. They weren't ripping the ducts out of the ceiling. Their songs were great, and they sounded great, and they did have some level of success after that. And but the song is really important, and so is the act, and so is your ambition, and so is all how hard you work. You have to be better than everybody else and work harder than everybody else, and that's what all these people have done. So, any other questions?
My band's played 41 years on Long Island. I'm going to speak to you. Thank you. I'm more comfortable with the bass in front of me than talking to people. I'm a Harkey endorsed rock bass player. I'm also a journalist with the U.S. Press Association. So over many decades, I've had a chance to be a weekend warrior, basically. No one here was looking to make a record. I came on the band in '92. The band's playing since '77. But as a journalist, I also interview up-and-coming indie acts and have covered the Independent Music Festival and awards in Manhattan. So I'm getting to see a little bit of both sides. You hit the nail on the head right away. In that Long Island, I'm 65. I started playing out at 16, playing drums. Katie Pearlman, like you. However, you have to go where your audience is. And this is what you have to do if you want to sustain. First, of course, you must have your passion and love your music. And money really is a little bit secondary, depending on your needs and your circumstances. In 2005, I decided to make a conscious decision to take our band out of the bar scene, which was doing 7, 8 gigs a week, doubles on Sundays, the OBI, and Mulcahy's, and what have you. And I was looking at this from a business aspect and targeting a market demographic and seeing an older audience, baby boomer that I am. And I put together a show called Songs You Can Sing To, because that's what people wanted to do. And that's where our audience was. We were not playing to 19-year-olds in bars anymore. I contacted 55 libraries over in Nassau and Suffolk County, and they ate this up with a spoon. And so my point is that this is evolving over time. I expected to see a tribute band rise at this time, basically because of the large quantity of baby boomers on Long Island. It makes perfect sense to me. This is a trend now, and I'm sure we'll change at another time. But my long-winded thing here is to look where your audience is. Do not give up. Promotion is very important. And you have to do some marketing and see where you need to be going and try to project for the future. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, John. Any other questions?
How's it going? So you guys touched on something that I think is really important. We were talking a little bit about the relationship between the venues. I'm talking about original acts too. The relationship between the venues and the bands and the internet. And we were talking about before how you provide bands with all the social media links that you'll need and all that kind of thing. I still kind of feel like there is something more that can be done on Long Island specifically, a better relationship between the media, between the venues, and between the artists that you guys are excited about. And I wanted to know if you guys had any specific ideas about how those two worlds can come together because I think that, I think that you're 100% right in saying that Long Island is an adult market and the tribute bands are doing really well, and that's 100% dead on. But that doesn't mean there's no audience for original acts. The three of us know that for sure. They certainly do come out. And I think we can do a better job of reaching them. And I think that would require cooperation from everyone who's excited about original music to get there. So I was wondering, we have Glenn, we have Dan, and everybody else who's involved with these venues. What sort of ideas does anyone have about how we can come together a little bit better?
And that's what we're going to talk about a lot in the next panel. But yeah, no, it's a great point. What can we do to make this better? And before this panel leaves, anybody have any ideas that just immediately come to front of mind?
I can personally guarantee that if any guys that have original things, we do like, and I don't want to, we're at a different venue right now, so I don't want to promote other venues, but we do shows where we always have original acts open up for us also, if that's the case. So submit some stuff. If you want to play in front of a good audience, give me a call. Shoot us a message, send us a demo or anything like that, because we're always willing to do that too and extend that to. We've had many original acts open for us, so it's something we want to support also. So.
I think they could be a more centrally, located on the internet. We're talking about place for people to go to find local music. I know there's a lot of different sites, classic rock this and alternate and this and that and the other. But I think some of the big companies on Long Island, like maybe News 12 and Newsday, and some of these big companies could get together and put the funds together to get, like a centralized location where people can go and just find anything that they're looking for in the area, instead of having to wait for an email to come in from this band or that band, or I know they're out there, but there's not one place to go. The difference between back in the 80s, Newsday was it, or the Good Times. You bought the Good Times. Everybody's schedule was in the Good Time. That was the central location. There's nothing like that now, and I don't think we've taken advantage enough of the internet. And it could be done, but it's got to be done with everybody, and there needs to be some big players doing it.
And that's why we're here, by the way. By the way, should Good Times Magazine be inducted into the Royal Music Hall of Fame? Good.
Jim, can I just one comment?
Yeah.
Not really a question. I think people have to realize there's more people listening to music now than ever before. It's a fact. And there's more people listening to new music, original music, than ever before. It's a fact. I agree. You look at Spotify, and that's what people are looking at. Every kid in America is on it, on their phone all day long, checking out new music discovered, new release week, everything else, new bands. So it is out there. And there's also sites that have what you want, my site. Reverb Nation has that, so. That's it. It's available. Years ago, you got 30 new songs a year shoved down your throat by radio. Now you've got millions of them shoved down your throat by the internet. So it's out there.
Hi, first of all, where's Epi?
What?
Epi, I'm older.
How old are you? And you're proud of it. Let me hear your song.
Glad to have made it this far. I want to go back to something Randy said about labels looking at younger bands as opposed to older bands.
Can you talk into the mic?
Sorry. I worked for a label back in the 60s and 70s, and they had an entire department devoted to artist development. I don't know that there are resources for young bands starting out like that, because the labels aren't doing that kind of work now. So, yeah, it'd be nice to have a central place for people to find new music, but what about guidance resources for bands? You know, there's a lot of unscrupulous people out there still, imagine that, in the music business, who would take advantage of young bands, but what about people who can guide them?
I think that's something that could be also added to this centralized website I'm talking about. You know, it could be something for the fans and for the bands. And it needs, you know, Spotify and all these, you know, worldwide companies are great. But for Long Island, we're talking about Long Island right here. We're kind of isolated from the rest of the country. You know, we're an island. And we need something for us, you know, we're talking about going out to see these bands live, to get them in front of people. And I think, you know, having a start where people know where they can go is a good format for also having a place where bands can go and find out, you know, this guy's going to screw you and this guy's going to do you right, you know, or have a forum on there and a guide. You know, I mean, look, Mike and I, as similar as we are, Michael Delguidice and I, you know, we've gone different paths, but we all have different experiences, and we can relay those experiences to people, and people can use them or not. You know, it may not be their exact path, or it may not be useful for them, but yeah. Instead of like having to search all this stuff out, I think there should be one centrally located. And I think what you're saying is great for the bands, you know, a learning platform for them, you know.
Just one more quick, thanks, Randy. Just one more quick comment about what the gentleman said before about people listening to music. One of my sons is a drummer and drum teacher. Phil says hi, by the way, Mike. I had a conversation with him today because he knew I was coming to this event. And he's got 15-year-old students. And he asks them, what do you listen to? Kids say, I don't really listen to music. What are you doing in a drum studio? Well, you know, my parents. So there are people who are exposed to music but really don't listen. And that's a whole, according to my son anyway, it's like a whole generation of people that have this gap.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This girl sitting next to me every morning gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and promotes the whole Long Island music scene for everybody. Sherry C on Facebook, 4,500 members, and she does it out of the goodness of her heart every day.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry. Right here, Jeff.
I didn't sign up for this, Jim.
Jeff is the manager, by the way. Jeff is the one who gave us this room tonight. Let's have a big hand for Jeff. He really doesn't need this. This is not part of his work.
Godfrey, my friend, how are you, sir?
This is not his work description.
You guys are great. I really appreciate you coming out, doing this for everybody. I grew up in the 60s. I'm 63 years old. I started performing when I was 15. It was a whole different scene. Like when you went to a bar, like what did people have in their homes? They had a little 45 player. It was about this big, right? We remember those. Some of you guys don't, but it was real small, and they didn't have great sound. But when they went to see a band, that live sound, they went nuts. They went there just to see the band. The whole scene has completely changed now because you walk into a bar, you got 47 TVs with boxing, wrestling, football, baseball. There's a million different attractions going on. They stuff the band in the corner. It's just another sideshow. And the bands, we can't make as much money as we did back in the day. I mean, I left home when I was 19. I went on, I don't want to say I went on tour where I was playing at Madison Square Garden, but I played in big resorts. I backed up singers that were doing everything from Barbra Streisand to Chaka Khan. All right? And when people came to see the shows, they were going out of their minds. Because they didn't have the set home. And they didn't have all the distractions. All the TVs, the phones, text messaging, sending emails. They're not paying attention to the band. And I don't care how good you guys are that are doing the tribute bands, you're still playing the Eagles. You're still playing the Beatles, and that's all they remember. They don't know your name. You're not really making a legacy for yourself. And I think that it's discouraged a lot of people that are truly artists from stepping up to the plate and putting out their message. You know, like it's become like if you're not good enough to be on American Idol, you should stay home. Well, if that was the case, then Bob Dylan never would have made it. Thank you. You know, so I just want to like encourage you writers that are out there. I mean, it takes guts. It takes guts to get up on a stage and to put your heart on your sleeve and sing your songs. And if you give that up, then you just sold your soul.
Okay, thank you. Maddie? You don't need a mic, man.
I was just making more of a statement. I can only speak from a original band perspective. I have a band called Memphis Crawl from Port Jefferson. And I played music from, you know, I lived out in California, Los Angeles, and San Diego. I played on that scene out there in the early 2000s. And I moved home. I missed my mother from Brooklyn. So I've noticed, you know, tonight is a discussion about the state of cover bands and tribute bands and original bands on Long Island. So I might be getting off topic in the geographical sense, but I noticed that a lot of original bands aren't leaving their comfort zone, their town. You know, Patchogue's awesome, Port Jeff's awesome, Long Beach awesome. They have great meatballs, this and that, good restaurants. But I mean, as far as art goes and music, if you make an original music and you want to stay in your town, I think that's beautiful. But if you are going at it with the sense that you want it to get bigger and you want to give your music to the world and share what you create and nurture it, I think you have to leave your town. I think that's what nobody ever brings up with original music. I think you have to, this is a really crazy one for Long Island because I know it's all about the cash flow, but you have to spend, nobody tells original people this, you have to spend money if you want to have a chance to make money. I'm probably the only person that Dan Welch has ever met that played his club and gave him the money back in his pocket after the night of getting paid. Because that's not what I'm right. Remember that, Dan? Am I the only one you ever met?
Pretty much, yeah.
If I was in the money, I'd be an accountant. I'm in the rock and roll, and I'm an outlaw. So, you know, I think people have to get out there. This is Cannabis Keith, my bass player in the front row. Stand up. He looks like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. We've been all around the country. We've been from here to California. We were in New Jersey last week. We were in Philly the week before. We were in West Virginia. We leave, we pack the van, and we go. And, you know, Long Island's beautiful, but it almost sometimes becomes its own reality. You tell somebody in the band, they don't say, oh, how much money you make? How much money you make? If it's only about the money, then, as these guys up here said, I think you're in the wrong profession. Because if you're good at what you do and you nurture it, and another thing that people don't touch on is nobody talks about unique talent. Everybody that plays music for 20 or 30 years or 15 years, everybody's talented, but you have to have something different as far as an original act that piques people's attention. And you also, besides being a good musician, have to be an entertainer. I think somebody said years ago, musicians make music, entertainers make money. So if you do want to make money with your original music, you have to entertain the shit out of people. By us, am I too long-winded here? No? By infinity. By us leaving Long Island and touring around, I met, Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes. So it's helped us here. When Chris Robinson came with his solo band of the Space, I know them. We opened for them, I think, 2 or 3 times. We've played here with Robert Randolph. We played the Paramount. We've played the Gramercy